Hello, nice to see all of you again. It's been a while since we connected. We have a firmware and an app update coming your way, and I thought that's a good chance for me to engage with you, tell you what all enhancements you can expect in this release. It's a fairly significant release, so I want to just do one housekeeping activity before I tell you what all is coming in this release. If you have a Trailblazer device, there is an extra step for you to do by way of the firmware update. Don't get too worried about it. The app will direct you with respect to what you need to do. There is an extra step for Trailblazer devices. The app will recognize whether you're a Trailblazer device or not and point you to that extra step. At one point, you will need to undock and dock your device back in if you're a Trailblazer device. And like I said, the app will direct you when you need to do it. We will also be uploading a video that shows the full OTA process. So you can look at that as well as you start the OTA. With that background, let's work our way through what all updates are coming your way. The first one has to do with the user guide and manual. Some of you might have noticed we uploaded the user guides for the C50 Pro, C50 Plus, and C50 on our website a few weeks ago. There was an ask from some customers, why don't you integrate the quick start guide and the manual into the app? So that's been done. Now with the app, you will be able to, let's say you're riding somewhere, you quickly want to know how to do something. The app has both the quick start guide and the user manual handy. That's the first enhancement. Let's talk Ride Grid and e-Ride Grid for a bit. So Ride Grid, one experience aspect and a relatively painful one that a lot of customers have reported is where if one of you is, if you're riding with your friend and your friend happens to go behind a truck or you lose line of sight for a very brief period, then the network disconnects and connects back. And that disconnection was causing to be quite painful. So what we've done is we've tuned the mesh parameters to make it far more immune to interference. So now if you go out of line of sight for a second and come, particularly with respect to a bus interference or a truck interference, you should not see disconnection. That's the first improvement that has been done with respect to Ride Grid. The second improvement has to do with e-Ride Grid. And I want to spend maybe a couple of minutes talking about cloud intercom because you're going to keep hearing cloud intercom a lot in the coming weeks and months, I think. So, we said this at the launch as well. Cloud intercom, as its most basic level, is no different from a WhatsApp group call. Right? If you say, okay, we are 5 of us are riding together, we'll create a WhatsApp group for the 5 of us, start a WhatsApp group call. At some level, you're establishing a VoIP call between the 5 riders. That is cloud intercom. Now, let's say that's level 0 of cloud intercom. Level 1 of cloud intercom is where the network says or the device says, okay, you all 5 of you are within range. So all 5 of you are going to be on the mesh, or all 5 of you have internet access. So all 5 of you are going to be on the cloud, and it switches all of you between the cloud or the mesh intelligently. So if all of you have cell phone coverage, you're all on the cloud. If one of you doesn't have cell phone coverage, it moves all of you onto the mesh. Something of that sort, where there is some level of intelligence, but all of you have to be in this or that, is what we call level 1. And some of the solutions from our competition today would classify as a level 1 cloud intercom. Now, you can say, no, let it get more advanced. Depending on me having internet coverage or not, just me, it should be able to intelligently switch on a per rider basis. So let's say you're now a group of 8 people. You've separated into 3 groups, 4, 2, and 2. The group of 4 is in a mesh. The group of 2 is in a mesh. The last group of 2 is in a mesh. But the 3 clusters or the 3 subgroups are connected over the cloud. So it's a mix of mesh intercom and cloud intercom. That is what we call level 2. And e-Ride Grid is currently at level 2. And to the best of our knowledge, we are the only solution in the world today which offers this, where on a per rider basis, you can mix cloud intercom and the mesh intercom. So we offered it in beta mode a couple of months ago, and we've been fine-tuning it. We've also been watching how many of you have been using it. I'm happy to say that now we are ready for you to use it to its full extent. Like we said at the launch, Cloud Intercom or eRide Grid is free for now. We still don't know how many of you will want it, what the usage will be. So think of it as a free service for now. If we need to move to a subscription model at some point, we will give you sufficient notice before we move to such a model. Now, some of you also said, eRide Grid voice quality is nice because I'm in an area where internet connection is very strong. I'd like it if I can just be on eRide Grid, right? Which, like I said, is in our mind level 0. But we felt in addition to all the ride grid groups we support, maybe there is value in an eRide Grid only group. So we have enabled that as well. If you turn on, if you set up the eRide Grid only group, then essentially you're saying, I don't want to use the mesh intercom. I'm in a very, very strong internet connectivity zone. I want no loss of network when there is, or no loss of connectivity when there is interference. But I'm sure internet connectivity is strong. So let me be on eRide Grid all the time. If you fall under that category, then the eRide Grid only group will work for you. Right? So this is Ride Grid and eRide Grid. Talking a little more about Ride Grid, we've been listening to you. We've watched different nuggets of inputs that you've provided to us, and we've worked on tuning each of those inputs. So one was the voice quality between C30 and C50. When C30 is interrupting with the C50, the audio quality on the C30 speaker was good. Audio quality on the C50 speaker had a little bit of glitchiness. That's been addressed. There was some challenge with QR code scanning between iPhone and Android devices. That's been addressed. We've also added voice prompts. So some, with the C30, for example, it says C30 public mode or C30 private mode. It announces that. The C50 wasn't having those prompts. They've been added now. The other thing we've done is with the V2 public mode, Ride Grid 2 public mode, we've now added channels. So let's say you don't want to set up your own private group, but you also don't want to be disturbed by somebody else joining your call. You can just pick a channel that you like and be on that channel. So anybody who is on that channel in a public group will be able to hop onto that call. Right? So these are all the Ride Grid, eRide Grid improvements that come as a part of this firmware release. Moving on to Ride Aura. So Ride Aura, I think one ask was, can we get a control to turn on, turn off Ride Aura? That's been added. So you can now turn on or turn off Ride Aura through either the button or the T-stick. With the earlier release, you really didn't have a knob to control intensity. It was just one setting. Now that control has also been extended to the users. And there was also one interesting point that, I want to leave it on, but let it come on only when it gets dark. So maybe after 6 p.m. it comes on. So we have added time-based Ride Aura on-off control. If you select it after 6 p.m., Ride Aura will come on. These are some Ride Aura improvements. We've made a couple more. I think on Android devices, people had reported this, that the color matching between the app and what you physically see on the device, there was some mismatch, particularly for red color. That's been addressed. The UI itself has been enhanced for better use. If you want to pick a color, part of the reason there was a color mismatch was because that color palette wasn't distributed properly. So we've changed the UI to make it a little more intuitive with respect to the color palette. These are all the Ride Aura improvements. Moving on to crash detection. So crash detection, we've done two things. One, again, we feel, there are various classes of falls that you can have, right? It's possible that somebody just nudged you or you had a really bad fall. And you might want to say, okay, I want control to be able to notify my SOS contact or call my SOS contact for various levels of crash/impact. So we are giving you that control. We are giving you 3 levels of control you can pick: mild, severe, mild, medium, and severe, and you can set it to whatever works for you. Now, if you have, depending on the type of impact, depending on the angle of impact, it's possible the device docks off. It is possible that the unit and the dock both come off, right? Because on impact, different things can happen. What we've now done is ensured that through these different use cases, the device stays on. It sends the instruction to the phone saying, call my SOS contact. Now, obviously, if the device docked off, it's not connected to the speaker anymore. So if you talk through the mic and speaker, it's not going to go through. But a phone call has been placed, so you can talk through the phone and let the contact know that you're fine, or you need help, whatever. So whatever be the impact to the device, whether it docked off separately, whether it came off along with its Mac dock, the connection to the phone is retained until the instruction to make that phone call is passed. So this is the improvement with the crash detection. Universal intercom, you could have done it in the previous firmware through the second phone connection, but it was not a neat UI. Now it's available as a full-blown feature. So the complete UI for universal intercom is now available, and whatever experience you get with the C30 on universal intercom, you should expect a very similar experience here. Moving on, so phone call, there was this one ask, C30, we can set it to auto answer call from a favorite or a specific contact or contacts, etc. Can we get the same capability in the C50? So we've added that now. So auto answering phone calls is now possible. There was also the ask for, okay, speed dial we could do through the T-stick. Can we have a button action for the speed dial? That's also been added. T-stick. So T-stick, we've done two things. One, right now the way it works is you have the joystick in the middle that goes left, right, up, down, and then it has a click in the center, and then there's a second button that you use to turn on, turn off. Sometimes what happens is, when you click it, the clicking action itself might result in a push. So you might run the risk of, this is actually not what I wanted to do. So what we've done is enable the option where you can now configure the button as the click, and then the joystick is only directional. So clearly is separated out. So there's no confusion that, when I'm doing this action, that happened. That risk has been removed. We have prompts every time you do an action. Some people have said, that's not something I want to hear every time. Can you make it optional? So that's also been done. So you can mute and unmute the audio haptics for the T-stick. So these are all the improvements that have been rolled in as part of this firmware update. And I think we've addressed pretty much every input we have gotten up to this point. Right? I think we've had a lot of fun testing out this firmware, validating that the overall group riding experience is as desirable as it can be. And I hope once you have this firmware, you feel the same way. Our target date to have this firmware and app to you will be sometime through next week. Next week starts March 31st, April 4th, ends April 4th. And it's like engineers, right? When they say week, it's typically end of the week. We will try to get it to you through the week, but I think a more realistic estimate is end of the week. So sometime through next week, you should expect to see both these firmware and app updates being available to you. We are obviously very reachable. So anything that you need, any concern you have, any feedback you want to give, more than happy to engage and listen. We've had some input on what can we do to make sure that customer support is very responsive. I think we've made a lot of progress in that space over the last couple of months, whether it be the ticketing system, whether it be making sure that whatever input source you use to register your concern, it makes it into the ticketing system, and the speed with which that ticketing system closes tickets. I think in all respects, we've made a lot of progress. We still have one action pending with respect to a toll-free number that we are working on. So I will have an update for you on that very soon. But you should see far more responsive customer support now. The pre-C50 launch days, when when we weren't hit by that flurry of questions and orders, I think we have more or less gone back to that state now. Once we add the toll-free number, I think it will improve the experience even more. So thanks again, and happy riding.